Coach Dave Taylor. Coach Taylor coached for 32 years, retired in 1999. Beginning in 1965 at Fremont, went to Muskegon Heights, then to Mona Shores, and finished his career as the head coach for the Muskegon Big Reds. His last 17 years as head coach, he was a part of 3 state championship teams, 1 as an assistant and 2 as the head coach. He is a member of the Muskegon Area Sports Hall of Fame. Coach Taylor's 2 most humorous incidents in coaching. A referee before a game told us we couldn't play the game because our jerseys were too short. I told him to go tell the stadium full of fans that he was not going to let us play. He let us play and we won the game. A taxi cab shows up at the stadium. One of my players gets out. He was worried about being late for practice. I had to pay the fare. Coach Taylor's biggest thrills in coaching. Winning state championships and going through that experience with the teams was always thrilling for myself, the team, the school, and our community. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Hall of Fame, Coach Dave Taylor.
Yeah, that taxi cab story, the rest of that is that we started practice always on Saturdays at 9 o'clock in the morning. And when if I blow my whistle, and the kids have got 30 seconds to line up and get started with the jumping jacks. And if they don't, it's 100 up and downs. So the kids really were on time for practice all the time. So I would count down the last 10 seconds. And I go 10, 9. I heard some kid run by me and say something. And in fact, I said to Coach Wilson, I said, who was that? He said, well, that was Derek Bailey. He said, there's somebody over there, the cab driver wants to talk to you. So I walked over there, and I said, yes, can I help you? He said, yeah. That fella that I just dropped off said, you're going to pay the fare. I said, well, how much is it? He said, well, it's $14.95. I said, $14.95? He only lives 3 blocks down the road. He said, oh, no, Coach. He said, the fee was only $4.95. He said, what he said when he jumped in, there's an extra 10 if I get there before 9 o'clock. I would like to take this time to thank Jack and the Hall of Fame committee for nominating me to be a member of the Hall of Fame. There are a lot of people that are responsible for me getting this award tonight. My favorite all-time Big Red fans are my mother and dad. They both graduated from Muskegon High School. My dad... Is it off?
Yeah.
On the mic.
Is it on? It's on. Could you hear me the first part? I think so. My favorite all-time Big Red fans are my mother and dad, who both graduated from Muskegon High School. My dad played football under Coach Leo Redmond Potter, who has the all-time record of 154 wins, 7 mythical state championships. My dad always tried to help me in my coaching. He would constantly try to give me helpful hints. He would say, Coach Redmond would do it this way, and Coach Redmond would do it that way. And I'd finally have to say, Dad, football has changed since 1934. But he didn't understand it. I would like to thank all of my administration. I don't have time to mention them all because I had 3 different superintendents, 3 different principals, 4 different ADs during my 26 years at Muskegon. But all of those 10 men always gave me everything I needed on the football program to be successful at Muskegon High School. I've been indebted to them all. I've had many wonderful assistant coaches with me at Muskegon High School. I want to thank them all, and a few of them went on to have successful coaching careers. One of them is Steve Wilson here, Larry Rieger, and my present Big Red head coach, Shane Fairfield. They were all excellent assistants. I have a group of staff people that help me, non-paid people. And over the years, probably maybe 15, 18 guys, and but they all retired when I retired. And we still get together down at the local club twice a month and reminisce about birthdays, whatever, and tell the war stories that the stories get bigger every year. I thank them all. One assistant who was with me for my entire 26 years at Muskegon was our team doctor, Dr. Fugate. Doc Fugate was a huge part of the Big Red tradition during his 42 years of service at Muskegon. Muskegon fans will always remember the Big Red hat, his flood pants, and his always polished football shoes, as any time a Big Red would go down, he would sprint out to the Big Red. He retired when I left also. At this time, I would like to introduce my family. My son Jeff is over here. My daughter Mitzi. My grandson Mitchell. And Mitzi's boyfriend Robbie. Jeff played football for Mona Shores under Larry Rieger, and my daughter was a cheerleader at Mona Shores. And the 2 years, this was 1986, that they went, my wife and the kids would go to the Mona Shores game. Of course, I had the coach at Muskegon. In 1986, you now mentioned, this is a wife story, by the way. In 1986, we were in a dogfight up in Traverse City. Probably the winner of that game was going to go into the state playoffs, or would get to the state playoffs, because back then, if you lost more than one game, you probably didn't get in. And late in the game, in the fourth quarter, we scored. And my wife, she had her radio. She would always take the radio. All our games were on radio. And she would tell all the people around her how the game was going on every Friday night. Well, on this Friday night, Larry was it was in the fourth quarter. Larry wasn't doing too well that day, and he had a timeout. So the team was right down in front of him. And all of a sudden, my wife stands up, she jumps up and down, leading a cheer. And she said, we scored, we scored, we scored. And some player said to Jeff, who is that kook up there? He said, that's my mom. Well, Larry Rieger called me on Saturday morning. He said, I'll tell you, I'm so upset with your wife. I said, well, what's going on, Larry? I'll tell you what, he said, she comes to Muskegon, she comes to our games, and because the games are so boring, she gets up and starts cheering for the Big Reds. In closing, I would like to acknowledge my wife. My wife was my biggest supporter, and she was a wonderful wife and very understanding. Her name was Shirley. We had 45 great years together, and she unexpectedly passed away last June from cancer. I am truly honored that this committee feels that I earned a place in the Football Coaches Association with all these great coaches that are in the Hall of Fame. Thank you.